and put your ego in your back pocket, you could probably be more successful and definitely less stressed.
This is the Sales Babel Podcast, episode 311, Prep Your Personality for Sales, an interview with returning guest Barry Saltzman.
Welcome to Sales Babel, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers. DISC, Bank, Strengthsfinders, Myers-Briggs. You've heard of all of these personality assessments. And we've had many of these people here on the Sales Babel podcast. But never have I found a psychometric assessment tool that I believe truly understands person. That's why I decided to have Barry Saltzman return to Sales Babel. Barry has been using this tool as a consultant and loved it so much that he decided to buy it. He's in the process of launching it on a broader basis. Today we're going to talk about this tool and his new software startup. Now make sure and listen all the way to the end because we've got another Sales Nexus sales tip, video voicemail. And one other thing. We're going to be doing another conference call this Thursday. Really enjoyed last week. It had a number of people wish they were able to have cleared their schedule and to hop on. That's why we're going to be offering it again, 4 p.m. this Thursday, Central Time. Be there or be square. So, with no further ado, let's get to it. Welcome back, Barry. Are you ready to babble?
I'm ready to babble.
When was it? You were last here about 3 years ago?
Yeah, it feels like it's been a good 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, it's been a while. I was visiting you in your old location.
Yes.
Love the new digs.
This is quite a bit nicer. We're at the Fox Build Makerspace today, and we're on the other side of the river, and it's and you're in our brand new media room.
Pleasure to be here. Very, very excited.
When you last visited us, you were talking about the power of understanding another person's personality in order to persuade them. And you're still doing that, right?
Yeah, it's been, so 3 years, a lot has changed, Pat. We acquired the company about 14 months ago, so now we're leveraging this technology and, looking to continue to add value to all those sales professionals and sales managers out in the world.
You said technology. This is actually some kind of an assessment tool, right? Where you can, well, what is it exactly?
Yeah, so it's a psychometric instrument, aka assessment tool. So it's a piece of software that analyzes data and provides a deep dive of people's personalities, their communication style, how they work with others. So basically an analytics platform that runs on a server somewhere out in the cloud.
I've had people come here and talk about Bank, DISC, Myers-Briggs, Strengthsfinders. I think that's all of them.
There's a few more, but those are the popular ones, yeah.
A lot of people like to talk about DISC for business. What makes this different?
Yeah, great question, Pat. So many of the tools, including ours, do a really good job of analyzing people's personalities and putting you into a 4-quadrant model. What we do is we go a little bit deeper. We assess the stress level of people to help our clients better understand how their stress level impacts their ability to adapt to change. So we do a little bit of medical modeling in addition to personality profiling, and we're the only folks in the industry that are currently doing that.
So why are you focusing on stress?
Well, at the end of the day, it's all about people's ability to handle change. So you might have a worker on your team who's great personality, but they're one click away from not being able to do their job. So the ability to adapt to stress impacts our ability to do our jobs well in the workplace.
What's all this got to do with sales? This is a sales podcast.
Yeah.
We got sales professionals on here, and they're like, I didn't mean to log into a psychology episode.
No, great question, Pat. So I spend about 50% of my time working with sales professionals. So two perspectives of sales, the sales manager versus the sales rep. If you're a sales manager and you've got sales reps on your team, you want your sales reps to produce at a higher level. You want them to sell more product and service. We can provide data to give the sales manager to help them understand more about their reps aka instruction manual. Imagine if you knew exactly what buttons to push to get your reps to be more successful. So the managers love this tool. It helps them better manage and coach their team. From the sales rep perspective, the data brings a higher level of awareness so that they can more effectively communicate and build relationships with their clients. So the sales rep and the sales manager get different kinds of value from the data that we provide.
This sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it takes 5 minutes. So literally 5 minutes to take the assessment, and I can generate a 20-page report that'll give you very accurate, meaningful data that you could use like the next day. So it's very simple, very easy to understand, and very applicable to the world that they live in every day.
And to be totally transparent and honest, I took the test.
Yeah. And knowing your personality, Pat, it didn't take 5 minutes, did it?
No, it went really fast. I thought the questions weren't hard at all. I thought they were good questions, and I whipped through them pretty quick. It wasn't 500 questions looking at every angle of your personhood. And when did you send me this report? Yesterday, I think it was. I got it. This is amazing.
And it's you, right?
It's me.
It's you.
It's me in my hand. I got it in my hand here. This is really, really quite interesting. Maybe you could walk us through this a little bit so people can understand that there's a lot of value in this. And not only understanding you, because we've been talking a lot about mindfulness this year on Sales Babel. We had Marianne Renner on here. We talked about diarying. I wrote about the Stoic diaries and understand others and have the patience with others. So that's what this does. And that's why it'd be fun if you could kind of dig into this. Like that page you got right there is super interesting.
Yeah. So Pat, you used the word mindfulness. It begins with self-awareness, right? So when you complete the assessment, the first thing it does, it provides you with very detailed data on you. How do you communicate? How do you solve problems? So when I look at your data, I can tell that you are obviously an extremely outgoing guy, and you love brainstorming, and you love trying to solve problems, and you're extremely independent. And I could tell that there's times where you could, put your foot down and say, I've got to get this done, but you're also equally capable of taking a step back and going with the flow and being a little bit chill. So as a salesperson, it's extremely important for you to understand how people perceive you when they first meet you. So in your report, you could see the first impression.
Yeah, that was interesting. There's actually 4 different points of views that it has, isn't it, if I remember right?
Yeah, so the first data point is your natural style. So who is Pat when he's in his normal, non-stressed out mode? Then it tells you your first impression, which is how do people perceive you when they first meet you? And then the last piece of data we look at is looking at the stress level to see how are you adapting to the world right now based on professional, personal issues that are going on, and what's the impact of that stress on your ability to handle more change? So we're giving you 3 views. Who is Pat when he's in his perfect state of mind? What does Pat look like when we first meet him? And what's going on in Pat's world right now? So I get almost a 360-degree view of you so that I can work more effectively with you as a coach, as a manager, as a peer. So I've got a lot of good data that helps me understand you better.
You as the boss. If I was to report to you, that's how you would use this.
Exactly. If I was your boss, I'd be able to see what you're going through right now so that I could do a better job of helping you be successful. Because you might not share with me that you're having struggles in your personal life or you've got something going on that's causing you some hardship. The data is going to tell me that something's going on in your world right now and it's impacting your personality and your style. So I would sit down with you and see, Pat, how can I help you?
Yeah. Here. Hand it to me. There was something in here I thought was just awesome. Now, I've not had a formal performance review in 7 years. Maybe Denise should be doing it for me, right? But I thought there was something in here that said, when dealing with Pat, it said, Pat may be perceived as being an open book, which is interesting, perceived as being an open book, and easy to read because he may be free in expressing his emotions and opinions, but he may not readily disclose his reservations, especially if they are unpopular. That's exactly right.
And think of how powerful that could be for the manager to understand you better. Because one of the challenges I see in the workplace is people just don't communicate well.
No.
And people don't spend the time to get to know each other. They don't listen. So this is, in essence, almost an instruction manual on Pat. So if I was your manager and I wanted to help Pat be more successful, I would run a coaching guide, aka instruction manual, and I would just follow what the manual tells me to do. It's that simple.
This is good. While he is appreciative of people who help him with important detail work when he needs it, he could be too busy thinking about the next project to pay attention, making a timely request from those working up the details. Wow.
Yeah, and again, Pat, looking at your specific data, you're full of ideas, and you need somebody next to you that can turn those ideas into, call it an operational plan. So you've got all these great ideas because you're full of ideas all the time, and that's core to your personality. Not that you're not capable of doing the detail work. It just doesn't bring you the same level of joy and satisfaction as doing the brainstorming.
This is very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah. So can I share something fun with you on this? So think of the biggest challenge that sales reps have from a manager's perspective. Managers are constantly talking about why the rep isn't doing a good job using their CRM tool, right? All the time. All the time.
It's the first one that comes to my mind.
Right.
In fact, we have a CRM sponsor, Sales Nexus, right now, and that's one of the biggest problems that they're working on is how do we get people to put that darn data in?
Right. So when you run the reports on your team, if your team are, say, like you, full of ideas, energetic, social, engaging, the last thing Pat wants to do at the end of the day is sit down and type into a computer his notes from the conversations he had with the prospects. So the data will give you that insight. Like, don't expect Pat to do this just because you want him to do it. You've got to communicate to Pat in a way so that doing it resonates with his personality. So what I would say to you, Pat, is I know the last thing you want to do is enter data in the CRM tool, but let me tell you why it's important to you. Pat, is it important for you to build meaningful relationships with clients?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's important for you to remember past conversations with clients?
Oh, yeah.
That's what the tool's going to help you with. The tool's not about helping me as a manager micromanage you. It's about helping you better build relationships with people. So using the data on you, I can communicate to you in a way that resonates with you. And you might say, I don't really love doing this CRM stuff, but it's good for me in my relationships. And you'll start using it.
That's exactly right.
Because you don't care about making me happy because I want to see all the data. It's about you building better relationships with people.
That's exactly right.
And maybe tying it to compensation and maybe tying it to reward systems or tying it to independence.
But actually, that wouldn't work for me.
Because you don't care about that because
I don't care about the money. I don't care about the rewards. I don't care.
You just want everyone to be happy.
I want everyone to be happy. And if I felt like my customers would be happier, if I had better data on them in the CRM, I'm very good about putting data in the CRM.
Yeah.
I'm really good at it. But you're right. I'd rather not.
Right. Right. Or maybe the sales manager should think of bringing in a support person or a sales op person that loves the minutia and the data. And
some people love that stuff.
They get energized by that.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's not you, but there are people like that.
Yeah.
So it's powerful data that managers could use to help them build stronger relationships with their people, better understand how to motivate people, and ultimately make them more productive, which improves the bottom line.
Maybe we could chat a little bit about customers. Like, I remember I once had some lady on here. I can't remember her name. It was 5 years ago. And she had a system where she played a little card game with people, with prospects, and she was able to kind of figure the person out. In fact, we had Brian Basilico on about a year ago on Sales Babel, and he was using something called Crystal. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
And supposedly it'll look at your social media profile and kind of figure out who you are from that.
Yeah, it integrates into LinkedIn. And
into LinkedIn. Yeah, I ran some of those reports. I didn't find them particularly useful, which is what I liked about this, because this was like spot on. How is this good how can salespeople use this for their customers? How would that help them? Because you can't have your customers be running this.
Yeah, that would be
your prospects. That would be like
cheating.
Well, I thought it was weird. That lady was like, "Oh, we're gonna play a little game before we get started." And if I was buying, I'd be like, "I don't think I want to do your little game."
Yes, that's a great question. So when you're working with a prospect or a customer, obviously you can't say to your customer, hey, customer, I'd like to send you an assessment so I could better understand you, so I can sell you better. That's not that's not going to fly. But once the sales rep understands the tool, the sales rep, if they're paying attention to their prospect, will be able to look for little clues in terms of, is my customer extremely competitive, or are they a people pleaser? Does my customer have a high sense of urgency? Are they very friendly? And what you could do is you could almost back end into a profile, and maybe you're 80% right or 70% right. And then once you understand that profile of your customer, then there are magical words that you can use that resonate with the person. So for you, what would resonate with you is freedom, independence, social, fun, engaging. Those would not be the same words you would use if you were selling to a CFO. Those would not be the same words you would use if you were selling to a highly controlling, competitive person. So the rep could pay attention. It teaches them to pay attention, back to mindfulness.
Yep.
It teaches them what language to use. And then their customer is going to all of a sudden become more comfortable with the rep because now they're speaking the same language.
I love it. I love it.
And you could read someone's LinkedIn and just look at the way they describe themselves in their career and the words they use. You could tell which people have big egos and they need to be stroked. You could tell which people are friendly and they talk about their friends and their family. You could tell if people are very detail-oriented because they've got PhDs and other certifications. So, if I spend about a half an hour with a sales rep, I can give them enough clues to look at so that they're 70% more effective than not knowing. And it's fun. It's just fun because you get to really, really understand people and build those relationships.
I probably should have asked you at the beginning of this. How did you get into this? What is your background?
Yeah, so my background is I've been a professional for 35 years. I've been in the IT professional services world my whole life. And for the first 20 some odd years of my career, I managed large service and sales organizations. So I've always been managing people. And when I decided to go out on my own, I took a step back and said, what do I like? What energizes me? And I always enjoy people and building teams and helping people be successful. So I started to get into coaching and consulting, and I fell in love with some of these assessment tools. Then 5.5, 6 years ago, somebody ran this assessment on me just like I did for you, and I had the same exact reaction. I'm like, oh my God, how did it know this? I thought I was the only one that knew this. This is kind of spooky and exciting. So I reached out to the owner of the company and I said, I love this tool. How do I become certified? Became a certified administrator of the tool. I started using this in my coaching practice, and it really helped me build more meaningful relationships. And then about 14, 15 months ago, we had the opportunity to acquire this company, and now we're looking to take this technology to a higher level and make it more scalable and more than just business and sales. This is applicable for any type of person, including high school and college kids, who probably need a little bit more self-awareness to make better decisions in terms of what college do I go to, what profession do I go for. So this tool is good for anyone that has an 8th grade reading level and above, anywhere globally.
You're right. If we step away from the assessment, what advice do you have for sales professionals when it comes to better understanding themselves and the people that they sell to? And I guess actually, and their management too.
Yeah, so it's not about me, right? So if I'm a salesperson, and I say this a lot of times to my clients, nobody cares about me, right? My purpose is to solve the client's problem, to help them reach some goals. So if a salesperson wants to really be successful, put yourself in the mind of the person you're selling to. Do you understand them? What's important to them? How do they succeed? How could you help them grow? It's all about them. It's not about you. Stop talking about the features and functions and speeds of your product and talk about the value that you provide. As a sales manager, it's the same thing. It's not about you, Mr. or Mrs. Sales Manager. It's about your sales reps. So if you could be more mindful of the value that you create and the person that you're creating it for and put your ego in your back pocket, you could probably be more successful and definitely less stressed.
Yeah. Yeah. So, people want to try this. They can, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And what I'd love to do for your audience, and I know you've got a big community of sales managers and sales professionals, what I'm going to do is I'll send you a link that you can put in the show notes.
Yep.
And for the first 20 people that use the link, I'd be happy to give them a free assessment, the same thing I did for you. So hopefully they'll be as excited about learning about themselves as you are.
This is just an amazing report. It's actually 2 reports. It's one for me and one for the manager.
Correct.
And this has been absolutely fascinating. This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh, that's awesome. And if someone hits the link, I'll give them the same thing that you have. So it'll be the report on you, and then it'd be the coaching guide for the manager.
This is just the coolest stuff. I care. Here, let me read something over here. Survey indicates the following demands. Striving to take a firmer position or being clear in your actions is probably important for you currently. You may feel that you either want to or need to be more controlling or assertive or forceful. You may be driving harder and being more decisive than you would naturally. This stuff here it's just really, really, really great advice.
Another thing we could share with the audience, Pat, is because of your very strong outgoing trait, it's very difficult for you to be mean. So when you're in a pissed off, mean mode and you really want to, say something to someone, you don't have the ability to be mean. It shows up as sarcasm. So if you become extremely sarcastic, that would tell me that something's bothering you because your sarcasm is your version of being mean.
It's the release valve.
Yeah. It's hard to be mean when you're a nice guy.
And I love that your tool here has been able to capture this. Yeah.
And again, it only took you 4 minutes.
It's really fast. It is really, 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 really fast. Yeah. All right, Barry. How can people find you online?
So prep-profiles.com is our website. So just visit our website and you could learn more about the technology, the solutions that we provide, and you can shoot me an email through the website.
And you're gonna give us a link. I'll make sure and place that in the show notes. We don't have that right now, but we'll put that in the show notes. It'll be, and the first 20 people. If I was you guys and gals, I'd jump on this. This is pretty cool stuff. This is very, very cool stuff. Thank you, Barry. Thank you for babbling here on Sales Babel.
Oh, great to see you again, and love the new studio. It's awesome. Thanks again.
Welcome back, Craig. Are you ready to babble a Sales Nexus sales tip?
I'm ready to go.
So what's this week's tip, sir?
This week's tip is video voicemail.
Yeah, video voicemail. Tell us more.
Yeah, what the heck does that mean? Well, it's not rocket science. But if you do a lot of work on the phone, if you're sometimes selling to customers that you never meet face-to-face, then putting a face with the name, making yourself real in their eyes and their mind is really powerful, especially when it comes to separating yourself from your competitors. So what we love to do is record a little video of yourself. Could be really professional with you in your suit and tie, talking about your company and what you do, or it could just be really fun. You out playing with the kids or doing what you do on the weekends. That's up to you. Put it in an email. And when you call somebody and you leave them a voicemail, send them an email with that video in it as a follow-up. A lot of people are way more likely to watch that video and respond to it than they are to even listen to your voicemail.
Yep.
Voicemail.
Oh, I can totally see that. I've had a few of these sent to me. I always watch them every time.
Yeah, they're fun, right?
Yeah, I agree. Great tip, Craig. How can people find these sales tips online?
Just go to salesnexus.com/sales, and there you can download the Sales Babel sales tips in a PDF, and you can get your copy of our 4 Steps to Market Domination guide.
Sounds good. Sounds very good, Craig. I can't wait for next week's tip. Thank you.
See you next week.
As I mentioned during the interview, I really enjoyed the assessment that Barry gave me. It was extremely insightful and really spoke to me like, yes, I can see that I'm like this. It was absolutely amazing. And it's very generous for Barry to give the listeners the opportunity to actually use this assessment. And as he said, the first 20 people to hop onto his website and to get the free assessment and mention in the notes. Now make sure you have to do this. You have to mention in the notes that you heard us on Sales Babel. He will give you the full-blown reports, both the manager and for the salesperson. Super interesting stuff. I highly recommend that you do that. To find that link and all the other links that we mentioned in this episode, you can find that at www.salesbabel.com/311. That's 311. There's also links there to the Sales Nexus sales tip that Craig mentioned. Great stuff. I've gotten some really positive feedback on the Sales Nexus sales tips. I read an email last week. It was just amazing. I can't really share it, but just trust me on this. It was very, very warm. It was terrific. So I really appreciate that you guys are loving those and finding value in your selling. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time, we'll be doing another Sales Babel conference call where you can ask all the questions that you want. Had a bunch of people wish they could have attended, but they couldn't because of their schedule, so I want to do this again. The conversation that we had was absolutely fascinating. One of the people that was on the call said that they had used that week's episode about going for the no and in a sales call, and according to them, it completely changed the conversation. One from stress to one of openness. It was really fun to hear that. I'm not certain if these conference circuits are the right way to go. What I like about them is that they're so simple. I may be moving to like a LinkedIn Live or something like this, but this is something I definitely want to do, given the fact that so many people have an interest in this. Just a chance just to ask questions of me or ask questions of other people that are on the line. I hope to see you there Thursday. If you can't make it, if you got a question or a comment, don't hesitate to reach out. Click the Babel Me button on the Sales Babel website, and that'll go right to me. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. That's all I've got for this week, folks. Until next week, take care and have a highly successful and profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babel podcast. Find us at www.salesbabel.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.